Torrential rain in western and central Japan leaves 38 dead and 47 missing. The number of dead in the Phuket boat accident goes up to 38. And the Housing Society warns a new pricing mechanism will lead to financial losses.
Hello, good evening. In Japan, more than 1.5 million people have been evacuated from their homes as torrential rain has pounded the western and central parts of the country. The rainfall is to blame for the death of at least 38 people, with another 47 still missing. Peter Corveos has details.
Torrents of rain battered Japan. Roads now resemble rivers, forcing locals to find alternative ways to get around. 1.6 million people have been forced from their homes. These are the lucky ones who had time to escape. 3.1 million are on standby. Others would see their homes destroyed. This hillside would give way, damaging everything in its path below. A 95-year-old woman perished after her house was damaged. The country's Prime Minister, Shinzo Abe, offered his deepest condolences to those losing loved ones. Japan's meteorological agency has issued a special weather warning across the island of Honshu. Military crews are no match for Mother Nature as they try and step up efforts to return power to affected areas. The country's chief cabinet secretary warned unprecedented rainfall is expected in eastern and western Japan, and it looks like things will get worse before they get better. Heavy rain is expected to continue on Sunday. Peter Corveos, TVB News.
A death toll from one of the worst transport accidents in Thailand's recent history has risen to 38, with 18 still missing. Thai officials today said another 5 bodies have been found after a tour boat overturned in Phuket on Thursday evening. The vessel, which was carrying 93 Chinese tourists and 12 Thai crew members and tour guides, went down in rough seas. Thai media reports say police have charged the owner and captain of the stricken ship with carelessness causing death and injury. Investigators are trying to determine why it appears the boat operator went out into poor weather despite a weather warning. While still in Thailand, the situation for the 12 boys and their football coach trapped in a cave is growing more urgent by the hour. Rescuers are up against a forecast calling for more torrential rain and falling oxygen levels inside the cave system. Officials need to make critical decisions about how to extract the team and when. At war with water and time. That description from the leader of a rescue mission trying to save the youth football team and their coach. A day earlier, a grim setback when the situation went from dangerous to deadly. A retired Thai rescue diver died in the cave complex after running out of oxygen. But there is a new window of hope. The long-range forecast calls for more heavy rain, but rescuers have signaled they may have their best chance yet to free the group before the rain comes. Rescue workers and volunteers have been working frantically to drain the cave, and water levels have fallen over the last few days. That, plus the current good weather, have created conditions for extraction that probably won't last long. Rescue officials say families want their children home soon.
I talk to them every day. If they would like me to bring their kids out, I said that it had to be minimum leaks, but if it's not enough leaks for us, we try to wait, but we cannot wait until the rain.
Rescuers don't want to rush an attempt at an underwater evacuation because the boys, some of whom are as young as 11, have not yet learned adequate diving skills. Another option for rescue crews is to wait until the region's rainy season ends, but that could take months. Messages from the boys and their coach to their families reveal they remain in good spirits and want their families to know they love them and miss them. Their coach also apologized to all the children's guardians. Meanwhile, more help is coming from the United States. SpaceX founder Elon Musk has dispatched a team of engineers to the site, which includes experts from his tunnel boring company. The team, which has advanced ground-penetrating radar, is due to arrive this weekend. A Pakistani court yesterday sentenced ousted Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif to 10 years in prison for corrupt practices linked to his family's purchase of upscale flats in London. A guilty verdict in absentia against the 68-year-old threatens to end the career of one of Pakistan's most high-profile politicians of the last 4 decades. The court ruling also marks a major blow to Sharif's party ahead of general elections on July 25th. His daughter, Maryam, widely seen as his chosen political heir, was slapped with a 7-year jail sentence and banned from contesting the upcoming election. The 3-time Prime Minister, who is currently in London, says he will return to Pakistan to tend to his wife, who is being treated for cancer and is in a coma. Sharif faces arrest on arrival in Pakistan just before the vote.
China has filed a complaint against the US for imposing hefty duties on $34 billion worth of Chinese goods yesterday. Prices of stocks and commodities have so far been unaffected by what could be the start of a prolonged trade war. This as American farmers fear they will become collateral damage in the bitter dispute between the world's 2 biggest economies. Jeff Tang reports.
It's been more than a day since Washington and Beijing slapped tariffs on $34 billion worth of each other's goods. But this may only be the beginning of a debilitating global trade war, as US President Donald Trump has threatened another round of levies on an additional $500 billion worth of Chinese goods if China retaliates. Beijing hasn't backed down. Late last night, the Ministry of Commerce filed a complaint with the World Trade Organization over the Trump administration's 25% levies on its products. Trump has said the duties are in response to China's violation of US intellectual property rights, but Beijing is expected to argue before the WTO that Washington's measures are against international rules. China's target list of US goods is heavy on agriculture, as they are meant to hurt American farmers who overwhelmingly backed Trump in the 2016 election and whose interests are backed by members of Congress. China imported nearly $13 billion worth of American farm products last year, so traditional farming states such as Iowa and Texas are expected to take a big hit. Meanwhile, the US pig farming industry is slated to lose up to 2 million jobs, with major pork-producing state Missouri facing potential losses of up to $140 million. But these aren't the only farmers who will suffer. Last year, China imported $120 million worth of lobsters from the US, the majority of which came from the northeastern state of Maine. The 17,000 people employed in America's lobster farming industry expect their livelihoods will be severely affected by the trade war. Premier Li Keqiang told a summit of Eastern European leaders in Bulgaria that China will keep to the path of reform and opening up its markets that has lifted its growth. That's after he warned yesterday that no one wins from a trade war. Unsurprisingly, Beijing's retaliation against Washington has inspired similar moves from major economies around the world. Russia announced last night it raised levies on some US imports in response to America's move to slap duties on foreign steel and aluminium. Meanwhile, the European Union says it will soon take action to prevent steel produced for the US market from flooding into Europe. Jeff Tang, TVB News.
U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo has ended a second day of talks with senior North Korean officials. On his 3rd trip to Pyongyang since April and his first since last month's summit between U.S. President Donald Trump and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, Pompeo met with senior ruling party official Kim Yong-chol. Both sides say they need clarity on the parameters of an agreement to denuclearize the Korean peninsula. The U.S. State Department spokesperson said both sides have set up working groups to deal with the nitty-gritty stuff, including validation of efforts to achieve denuclearization. The talks also included the repatriation of the remains of Americans who died in the Korean War. Pompeo left Pyongyang for Japan early this afternoon. While in North Korea, Pompeo reiterated that Trump was committed to a brighter future for North Korea.
So the work that we do is a path towards complete denuclearization and building the relationships between our two countries is vital for a brighter North Korea and the success that our two presidents presented us.
The Housing Society chairman has warned it will suffer financial losses if it allows the government's new pricing mechanism for subsidized sale flats. Marco Wu hopes a deal will be worked out with the government. Caleb Leung has more.
The government earlier announced a basket of measures to address the city's housing problem, such as revising the pricing mechanism for subsidized sale flats to make them more affordable to lower and middle-income households. Under the new pricing mechanism, home ownership scheme flats being offered in 2018 would be sold at 52% of the assessed market value instead of the original 70%. The chairman of the Housing Society, also a builder of subsidized flats, has warned of financial losses with the price cut.
We need to pay half of the full market value of the land to government. And if we continue to do that, and then to sell our flats at a bigger discount rate, that means from 30% discount to 48% discount, then we will suffer a financial loss.
And what kind of financial loss is the self-financing constructor talking about?
Based on our preliminary estimate, it will be around, say, half to $1 million per unit sold.
Marco Wu is asking the government to make some adjustments to financial arrangements with the Housing Society, such as exemptions on land premiums. He also thanked the chief executive for providing the Housing Society with a plot of land in Kai Tak. The land will be mainly used to relocate residents affected by the reconstruction of old housing estates. Wu said Chun Sin Mei Chun in Kowloon City, built in 1965, is a priority for redevelopment. When completed, the redevelopment project will provide 1,600 units, a boost from the current 1,027 units. Not all residents of Chun Sin Mei Chun welcome the idea. This woman said Kai Tak is too far away, adding that the location is not convenient for senior citizens who make up the bulk of the current residents. Caleb Leung, TVB News.
究竟買樓先定棟房先？有差利卓別靈先定亞視匹靈先 ？Learn Mandarin first 還是先學英語？
你學好廣東話先啦。
唔理3721線定3967線，有日出先定有黎明先 ？EPS Easy Cash 買嘢加攞錢都可以一齊先。超過2500間商鋪都用得，咁正，咁去邊間先呢？
Welcome back to TVB News. Is he dead or alive? It's a simple question that no one's been able to answer Lee Wen-soo since her husband disappeared in 2015. He's a Chinese human rights lawyer charged with subversion of state power. It's not been all fun and games for Lee Wen-soo and her son.
Mama, 我爸爸是不是已经死了？
She said just last month, her 5-year-old asked if his dad passed away. Lee doesn't know either. For 3 years, she's been searching for her husband, Wang Quanzhang. The Chinese lawyer has defended victims of land seizures and dealt with sensitive cases on the mainland. He vanished in July 2015 during a crackdown on rights activists and was later charged with subversion of state power by authorities in Tianjin. That's why Lee Wen-soo started a 100-kilometer march to the city to find her husband. Sad, upset, pain, torture, none of these words can reflect how I feel anymore, she said. Since Wang Quanzhang disappeared, Lee Wen-soo said her family has been put under surveillance and that schools have rejected her son. To make things worse, none of the 7 lawyers hired were able to get in touch with her husband. I only have one wish. I hope he can return, come home peacefully.
British Prime Minister Theresa May has overcome rifts among her ministers to secure a cabinet agreement for her plans to leave the European Union. Their business-friendly proposal is aimed at spurring Brexit talks that have been stuck in limbo.
The Cabinet has agreed our collective position on the future of our negotiations with the EU. And our proposal will create a UK-EU free trade area, which establishes a common rule book on industrial goods and agricultural products. This will maintain high standards, but we will ensure that no changes can take place without the approval of our Parliament.
The agreement came after an hours-long meeting at the Prime Minister's Chequers country residence. The Cabinet also agreed to a new business-friendly customs model that allows Britain to freely strike trade deals around the world. But the hard-won compromise may yet fall flat, with EU officials who could accuse May of cherry-picking the best bits of the trading bloc. Brussels is determined to deter other countries from following Britain out the door. Back here at home, police have arrested almost 80 people in a recent crackdown on triad activities. But as Christy Lung reports, the operation drove an undercover officer to seek psychological counseling.
Police seized $38,000 in cash, gambling tools, and weapons including batons and knives in an anti-triad crackdown that started on Wednesday. Officers arrested 40 people when they smashed 3 illegal gambling establishments and a storage site for weapons. 39 others were arrested during the operation. Police believe core members of 2 gangs that are active in Kowloon West are among those arrested. An undercover officer played a key role in the police operation.
The undercover operatives have to attend different kinds of activities that they're not used to as a police officers. So they sometimes encounter some psychological stress or difficulties.
After the year-long operation, police said an undercover agent involved is now receiving psychological counseling due to work pressure.
6 suspects have already been charged with triad-related offences. Christy Lung, TVB News.
An unemployed man appeared at Sha Tin Magistracy today to face wounding charges in connection with needles found sticking out of bus seats. No plea was taken and he was denied bail pending his next court appearance in August. The 30-year-old man faces 3 charges of wounding for allegedly placing needles on the seats of a KMB Route 41A bus in Tsim Sha Tsui and 2 KMB Route 48X buses in Sha Tin last week. He's also charged with 1 count of attempted wounding in connection with another needle found on a KMB Route 81 bus in Sham Shui Po. He will remain in custody until the next hearing in mid-August, as the magistrate believes he may re-offend. A new batch of police inspectors and constables could hit the streets next year after today's recruitment day. The police headquarters this morning was inundated with applicants eager to join the force. Kena Chu has the story.
These applicants haven't lost hope in the police force despite recent misconduct scandals.
Their job is really meaningful and also very challenging, so I would like to apply.
I feel like that can help to better resolve the conflicts as well as encourage other ethnic minorities to try to join the police force.
Of more than 1,800 full-time openings this year, 1,620 of them are for constables, with a monthly wage starting at around $23,000. The remaining are probationary inspector positions. Those salaries start at roughly $40,000 a month. Auxiliary positions were also on offer. There were more than 240 applicants, double the number of last summer and the second highest on record.
It's one of the most flexible and best part-time job you can get in Hong Kong.
Overall, the more than 2,600 potential hires also marked the second highest in the police force's summer recruitment history. Hopefuls were challenged today in their knowledge of current affairs and how to handle conflict.
The performance of candidates are gradually improving over these years, and that reflects their seriousness in joining the Hong Kong Police Force and serve the community.
Successful applicants will be admitted to police school in as early as October for at least 27 weeks of training. Kana Chu, TVB News.
And that's the news.
Thanks for joining us. Good night.